Okie dokie artichoke, beautiful people, what is going on? Happy Friday. And we got a little special Friday Live coming at you real quick, okay? So, if you're new here, I want to just go through a little rundown of things. This is how we always do things. So, I want to know a few things when you tune in, okay? So, let me know your first name, let me know where you're tuning in from, and then let me know something really, really good that's going on in your life right now, because I would love to know that, okay? So I'll kickstart this. If you don't know who I am Connor. I am from Pittsburgh. And something super good that's going on in my life right now is that we just got back from a little trip last weekend. So we had to move our Friday Live to Thursday last week. So now we are back on schedule, Friday Lives, and we're ready to go, okay? So I figure the topic of this is just going to be a Q&A, okay? So just sit back, relax, and come hang out for a little bit, okay? So, like I said, I would love to know what your first name is. I'd love to know where you're tuning in from, where you're watching this, and then something like really, really good that's going on in your life right now, and then we'll get started, okay? So, let us see who we've got, okay? We got NYC in the house. We love that. Danica crushed 6 of your workouts in 4 days. All right, Danica is putting in the work. Let's go, Danica. I'm proud of you. We got Greg in Rancho Cucamonga, California. I know where that's at. Love that. Who else? Who did I go on my trip with? We went with my dad and we went with my sister. And we went to watch a football game. We got India in the house, Annabeth from Nashville, Tennessee, 5 weeks out from her 3rd bikini competition. Let's freaking go, Annabeth. You're going to kill it. Tanuka from New York, studied in Pittsburgh. Let's go. Did you go to the University of Pittsburgh? Or did you go to a certain school there that I'm sure I would know? We got Ivy, tuning in from Indiana. Ivy's from Indiana. Okay, something that's going good in my life is I'm putting my baby... Okay. Daddy on child support, okay. Cool. We got Brazil in the house. Catalina from LA. We love that, Catalina. Welcome. Danica's from the desert. Yes, Arizona. That's right. Who else? We got more Brazil in the house. We got UK. Luis from Michigan. Getting lots of work done. Kicking butt. Let's go, Luis. We got Madeline in the house. What is going on, Madeline? Long time no talk, you know. Manchester's in the house. Manchester, UK. Farnaz. What is going on, Farnaz? San Fran, about to graduate my doctorate in 60 days. Let's go. 60 more days, Farnaz. You're going to kill it. December 9th, I think, right? Yeah? Cool. All right. Went to CMU. That's cool. Yeah, I know CMU. Carnegie Mellon. Love Pittsburgh. Me too. Kaylee from UK again. Michael, what's going on, Kaylee? Michael from Atlanta just got back into shape. Lost 20 pounds. Let's go. And now working to gain lean muscle. Let's freaking go, Michael. You're killing it from Atlanta. All right. Kalia from Westchester, New York. Let's go. All right. So, that's what I just wanted to intro with. We're doing a little anonymous Q&A real quick. And we're going to get going, okay? So, I curated some of these questions. I got 5 good ones we're going to go through, okay? Some of the highlights. Actually, I forgot to actually say my fun fact. So, this is something new I started. I figured it makes it a little interesting, keeps you here for a little bit longer, and at least for this this first little bit until we get into it, okay? So, my fun fact that I've got today is something that I witnessed, which was probably one of the most impressive things I've ever seen in my life when I was in Colorado this past weekend, okay? So, after the football game that we went to, there's this main strip of restaurants, bars, shops, things like that in Boulder. It's called Pearl Street. Yeah. And so after the game was super duper early. It was a 10 a.m. game. I've never been to a football game, college football game, that was that early. So we got out of the game at 1 or 2 p.m. So we got some lunch afterwards. I think we went to this super cool pizza place. And then afterwards, we were just walking around. We got some ice cream at Ben & Jerry's, and then typically there was this street performer that was there at the corner of the street, or street corner performer. Brittany, I live close Close, live to there. Love Pearl Street. Let's go, Brittany. I love that. Let's go. Long time no talk too. And so what I witnessed from this guy, this like street performer, typically like I wouldn't just stop to watch one of these things, these people. But I think my sister just stopped and started watching this guy. And he did one of the most impressive things I've ever seen in my entire life. So he was doing some of these, I don't know, juggling tricks and some other things just to get people's like attention. And he had this like map, he had this like chain link of a map of the United States, like in the, like around him, surrounding him, like where he was standing, right? There was like a 20-foot radius or something around him. And so he started to, like after he was done doing that and he had like a decent crowd around him, he goes, is anyone here not from Colorado, right? And so some people are just like saying, like raise their hand, stuff like that. And so he was like, and he wanted to know what your zip code was, right? And so you would give him your zip code. So I'd give him my zip code and he would know exactly where you lived, like what city you lived in. And he did this for like 50 people. And there's probably literally one of the most impressive things I've ever seen in my life. So it was like, here's my zip code. Like my sister did it and she lives in Pittsburgh. And he was like, you live in this city. And like no one told him that before, right? So, and like he did it for like 50 people, right? And I told him my zip code and he's like, you live in Los Angeles, I mean, it was like a specific place, in Los Angeles, but like generally that was it. And I was like, bro, I've never seen that in my entire life. So that's my fun fact for today's Friday Live. And let's get into it, okay? Have a fantastic weekend, beautiful people. You got it. All right, so here's going to be some of the highlights that we're going to be talking about today, okay? So this is just like all over the place. I like to keep these pretty chill. And let's get going, okay? So we've got the highlights we're going to talk about today are going to be talking to girls, staying fit while traveling, staying on track while traveling, bad fitness advice, and becoming your best self, okay? That's going to be our top 4 highlights we're going to talk about. Talking to girls, staying on track when traveling, bad fitness advice, and then becoming our best self, okay? So, first question is this. This question is, I'm looking to start talking to girls and getting to know them and seeing where things go. Any advice or tips? Of course. So I think it's just funny how I get asked this. I feel like I'm the last person you'd probably ask this, but this is what we're starting off with, okay? So, you'll have to tell me if this is good advice or not, because I feel like we get a lot of girls that tune into this, okay? So let me know what you guys think. So, I would personally just say, I read a book as I was like getting more into my like walk with God a few months ago and stuff. I read a book called Single, Dating, Engaged, Married by Ben Stewart. And I also saw this video that Chad Wright posted. He's like this ultra marathon distance runner guy, sort of relating to these topics. And I thought these were really good advice. I'm going to combine the two, okay? So basically in the book Single, Dating, Engaged, Married by Ben Stewart, it walks you through these different phases of a relationship, right? As you work towards marriage. And for me, like the priority is going to be around like faith for me now. As far as like how I kind of answer this. So what I would short and sweet just say is go and do super duper hard things, chase after God, and you'll find people that are running alongside you that you can kind of team up with. And maybe you might find one of those people like super attractive, and maybe they hopefully find you super attractive too. And you go and do that together, right? You go and do hard things together. You go and chase after God together. And you start talking to them. You maybe start dating and get engaged and hopefully get married, start a family. So that's what I would just say, like when it comes to my advice, like probably the top piece of advice would be like, go do hard things. It'd be more like focusing on yourself. Like go do hard things. I can focus that. I can do that by myself. I can chase after God. I can do that by myself. and then I can like look to my left and look to my right and be like, oh, are there people doing the same thing, like running after the same things with me? Then that's sort of like how I would choose like which girls to talk to, I would say. But overall, I think I would just say like what is naturally inherent in your character is going to be what's the most attractive and seductive when it comes to like how you pursue like women or men or whatever it is like that you're trying to like go after. Okay, so just being like yourself. And I would also say that honing in on like certain qualities that are super like very, very rare nowadays, which I read this book also called Art of Seduction by Robert Greene a few months ago. And basically he was saying that, focusing on like patient and attentiveness with people and like slowing down, like let's say you're talking to a girl for like the first time and I think it's like super common, like all you want to do is like focus on like what you're gonna respond to them with, right? So you might even walk up to them for the first time and like introduce yourself and be like super nervous and kind of like maybe you forget your name or something like that, because you're like so nervous to go up and like speak to them for the first time, because you're just so worried and like in your head, and I feel like girls can just like smell that out from like a mile away, right? So kind of just practicing the opposite of that and just being like super outwardly focused and just like taking your time when you're speaking with them, not being like super rushed, I would say. And also I think a super underrated quality is just making people feel safe and secure in your presence is going to be something that like I feel like you can kind of just sense in someone else. Like when you're first meeting them or speaking to them, like I feel like you get a pretty good vibe from someone when it comes to like, okay, are they making me feel like super more nervous, like more anxious? Like, am I getting some kind of weird vibe from someone when like I'm first speaking to them, right? I'm talking to them. Or do I feel like super calm? Do I feel super safe? Do I feel super secure when I'm like in their presence, when I'm with them? And just doing your best to just like be yourself and try and like make people feel and have that sense of security in themselves, okay? And making them feel like super comfortable for being like who they are, right? So that's just what I would say. My advice, if you want my advice when it comes to talking to girls, that's what I try and do, is I try and do some hard things on my own. I try and run after God on my own, and then I try and look to my left, I try and look to my right and see like, oh, are there certain types of people that are doing this like alongside of me that I could like team up with, right? And those are going to be the people that I choose to go like pursue and be super intentional in my like pursuit of those people. If I, find them attractive, and hopefully they find me attractive. And then when it comes to like maybe getting to know them for the first time, I would really just say, being yourself, like whatever super comes natural to being who you are and is natural to like who you are in your character, that's going to be what's inherently the most attractive when it comes to like how you appear outwardly to someone, okay? And then also just taking your time when you're getting to know them, not making them feel super like anxious, not making them feel super nervous. And I feel like if you get those three things down and making them feel super safe, secure, and heard in your presence when you're with them, I feel like you're 99% of the way there, right? As long as you don't like super mess things up, like I think you're good, okay? So that's the first thing I want to talk about. Got that off my chest. Let me know if that's good advice. I don't really know. I'm just speaking from my heart. So, all right, number 2 is how do we stay on track when we're traveling, okay? So I would say I could just tell you like what I try to do when I'm going some places and I'm like out of my routine. So this is usually what I try and do if I'm like wanting to try and stay on track to the best I can, okay? So great advice. Thank you. I appreciate that. That makes me feel good, okay? So thank you, Bradley. And so I think I kind of just reset my expectations when I'm kind of going to be out of my routine. I'm going to be out of my normal place of like where I live at, right? So I don't expect things to be perfect. I don't expect my weight to like follow my goals. If I'm trying to lose weight, if I'm trying to like put on muscle, I don't expect to be perfect when it comes to staying like super duper on track. Like that's the first thing. I kind of reset my expectations and my standards because I'm going to be out of my routine. And I'm like, I don't know if you guys, but like I'm a creature of habit. Like I love my routine. I love my things that I do that keep me on track when it comes to my goals and like my health and wellness goals. But if you're kind of going to be like going on vacation for a week, if you're going to be visiting, doing something else for like a long weekend, then maybe that's like something that is going to take a back seat for just those days that you're going to be like out of your routine for a little bit. Okay. But if you are wanting to stay on track to the best of your ability, like I said, we reset our standards, and I just tell myself like I'm gonna do my best that I can, right? And then I'm gonna pick back where I left off, like where before I left go like out of my routine, wherever it was, right? So reset our standards. I just do my best, and then some of the maybe like in the weeds kind of things that I do is I try and get all my water in. So like if I can hit my water goals, then I'm satisfied. Like I'm pretty content with hitting that goal when it comes to just getting my water in per day. Typically it's going to be about 100 to 128 fluid ounces per day. So it's like basically 80% to, a whole gallon of water per day. So that's like what I can kind of, is in my control, right? And then I'll also just transition more into just a full macro based approach. If not just total calories. So I'll kind of pull up my MyFitnessPal app, and I'll do my best to kind of track most of my meals. If I don't know like the exact calories, if I don't know the exact macros for meals, I don't sweat it. It's not a big deal. But I do my best to kind of just keep track of like what that's at. And that's just how I like to kind of run things. So getting my water in, just doing, hitting maybe total calories, getting an idea of like what that is on a daily basis. So I'm not like one day just like randomly eating 5,000 calories when I'm not used to eating 5,000 calories. I'm used to eating 3,000 calories, right? So typically that 2K calorie gap is going to be like super excess where, maybe I'm going to feel worse. I'm going to feel a lot more bloated, especially if I don't get my water intake in and I'm kind of increasing that calorie intake if I'm not kind of keeping track of it. And most of the time, like I'm not someone that would like excessively eat a whole lot more. I typically tend to like undereat if I'm not in my routine. But I know a lot of people, like you're kind of used to maybe like restricting calories a lot, and you go on vacation or you go on a trip or something like that, and then you tend to maybe like overeat. Maybe you're eating like double the times amount of like what you're used to. And if you're not kind of doing, typically I do the water intake so that it leaves me feeling less bloated, so that my body can just like flush out any excess calories if I have that in my system. But really just getting my water intake helps me avoid eating or drinking like super calorie filled drinks also. And then also like, it also keeps me away from like drinking alcohol and some other things that are probably going to make me feel like not so good, the next morning. Right. So that's what I would just say. Some of my go-tos, if I can, I like to try out certain places that are like just in like the place that I'm at. Like I prefer that, right? I wouldn't really like to go to like these main chain restaurants because I feel like that's part of the experience. Like I don't know if you guys like to do that too, but I feel like I really like finding places that you can only find in those cities or in those towns or in those countries that you can only find there. But if you're looking for somewhere to go like super quick for like a breakfast or a lunch, maybe not dinner or something like that, then typically what I try and go for is one of these three restaurants. I try and shoot for Chipotle, Subway, or Chic-Fil-A. Those are like my three go-tos, and I could probably eat that for the rest of my life. But typically at Chipotle, I just get a burrito bowl. Typically just chicken, brown rice, lettuce, sour cream, and like tomato salsa, corn salsa, and the hot salsa, I think they have, spicy salsa. Subway, my go-tos at Subway, I like to go with the sweet onion chicken teriyaki at Subway. So kava is good too. I heard that's really good. I actually have never had that, I don't think. Maybe I've had that once. I saw that at the place that I went to last weekend in Colorado. But Yeah. And then so at Subway, I like to go with sweet onion chicken teriyaki, typically because I've done my research, and out of all the subs at Subway, the lowest fat and like calorie content that you can get in a sub is typically maybe veggie delight. It's probably gonna be the lowest, but like I'm not a fan of that. I mean, I've never tried it, so like it's not really fair of me to say that, but I'd prefer to go the sweet onion chicken teriyaki. Kava is better than Chipotle. All right, I've heard that, but like I don't know. It's tough to beat Chipotle if you're me, okay? But I'll have to give it a shot and let you guys know, okay? But yeah, sweet onion chicken teriyaki, like the whole sub, I think a 6-inch sub is like 6 grams of fat, and if you get a full foot long sub, it's like 10 grams of fat, 12 grams of fat, and that'll fill you up. And you'll get like 100 grams of protein. I think it's like 50 grams of protein for just a 6-inch sub of like a sweet onion chicken teriyaki, which is like super, super good. And then Chick-Fil-A, honestly, just like grilled chicken sandwich or just a regular chicken sandwich. I think grilled chicken sandwich is like 5 grams of fat, and then a just original chicken sandwich from Chick-fil-A is like 12 grams of fat. I could be wrong, but typically I'll shoot for like lower fat. That way, like later in the day, I could have like a tastier dinner or something like that for dinner. Like, so typically, like the more fat and carbs food have, it's gonna taste better. So I kind of like to save that for dinner if I possibly can. So that's why, like, if I'm going for a breakfast or lunch to someplace, then I'll shoot for maybe like a Chick-fil-A, maybe a Chipotle, or maybe like a Subway or something like that if you can find that. So that's what I would say for staying on track when traveling is resetting your standards a little bit, just doing your best, getting your water in, shooting for calories or macros if you want to track it all. And I feel like you'll feel a lot better about like staying within the boundaries of like not letting yourself go too far, like off track, you know what I mean? So that is what I wanted to say about that, about staying on track when traveling. So let's get to number 3. So the third question I want to talk about is, this wasn't what I labeled in the highlights, but it's just something I wanted to speak on too. And it was, they asked, what is something you value most at this time in your life? And what I would say to that is, honestly, nowadays it's really just my time with God and my prayer time, and like how that gives me peace of mind and it slows down my days. And then also, just to answer that question, like I just read a book called The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry by John Comer, I think his name is. And I feel like I read that at a really good time for me a couple months ago. And it was really just saying how slowing down, you know, your life when it comes to, it was more of like a faith-based book too. And that like really, it put things into perspective for me when it comes to like, you know, appreciating the time with God, with prayer, slowing down your life. Because I don't know, if you're like me, like I literally cannot believe it's already Friday this whole week. Like my weeks just fly by and I don't even know what happened to them. And I'll like blink and it's already the weekend basically. So something I'm trying to do a little bit better at is I think it's because I do the same thing every day. And so there's like not a whole lot of spontaneity sprinkled in, you know, that they all kind of just run together. Even my weekend sometimes, if it's not like last weekend, but my weeks just like fly by, and I'm trying to kind of slow down like within my weeks and be like, oh, what day is today? Oh, today's Friday. Oh, today I get to do a live and see you guys. And, you know, being like, oh, I'm really looking forward to this tomorrow, or like, I'm really looking forward to doing this like tonight or something like that. So that's something that I really value right now in my life, is like my time in prayer, my time in God. And just to circle back real quick, that's came to mind real quick, is you appreciate every hour of every day and don't crumble it into days. All right, I like that. But just to swing back to my answer to the first question about any advice when like starting to talk to girls, and what I said about like whatever's like naturally inherent in your own character, like what makes you unique, is going to be the most attractive, is going to be the most seductive thing about you. whenever I kind of answer that first one. One of the things that I pray about is that I pray for God to remove like my character defects so that I can serve to the best of my ability, and I don't have to like worry about those. But that is something that I kind of pray about. And when it comes to just like what is inherent in my character, when it comes to answering that first question, is, inherently you're going to have like good parts of your character, and inherently you're going to have some defects, some things that are like poor, maybe not so good about your character that you just like tend to do, right? And I kind of just pray that like God can just alleviate my like worry about like the defects that are in my character, and like I'm good with, I can just focus on what's inherently unique and good about my character on this side, and like He's taking care of like all the poor things, like if I can't stay focused, or if I can't if I'm worried about like my pride, my ego, or things like that He kind of just can take care of that. So yeah, kind of a tangent, but I just wanted to like say that super quick because I feel like that kind of tied into that first answer too. So yeah, 2 more and I'll let you guys go. Have a great rest of your Friday. So the second to last one I wanted to talk about was this question. So what is the worst advice you see from fitness influencers giving out? So I would say the number one thing, I don't know. I guess I try and do my best to keep up with what's going on, but I honestly feel like I'm pretty out of the loop most of the time, kind of just doing my thing. But I would probably just say the number one thing is I think there's this expectation. I mean, I think when you get to maybe, if you have like 10 to 20 plus years, probably more than 10, maybe 20 plus years of training experience when it comes to like weight training and knowledge when it comes to working out, that you can kind of, I think you've kind of put on a decent amount of muscle, or knowledge, insight, muscle onto your physique and your body, where maybe you can kind of afford to like not go through, if you're kind of happy with how you're looking and how your body and physique looks, then maybe you don't have to like go through these phases, these cycles of like a really, really extreme like bulk, like winter bulking season or gaining season, right? Where you don't look like you're in the best shape. Maybe you can kind of stay sort of lean, like maybe 10% single digit body fat, and look pretty good throughout like the whole year, right? But I think I don't think it sets a good expectation that like when you're first starting out, in order to kind of put on a certain amount of muscle, you can't be super lean year round. Like you can't be super shredded, you can't be super cut, you can't be, maybe it gets to a point where like you're not going to be able to have a 6-pack year round. Like you have to go through some lean gaining phases, or like some bulking phases to kind of eat in excess calories, so you can kind of build that muscle. So then you can kind of cut down whenever it's summertime, if you want to cut down in summertime, where you can look a little bit better, reveal off some of your hard work. But I think probably like some of the worst advice now maybe that people see is that you can look a certain way like year round whenever you first get started, right? And to a point, maybe there's you might be a little bit, I don't know, have good genetics, if you want to think of it like that, where maybe you won't get as like chunky, you won't put on too much like fat when you go through those phases. You can still maybe have like a 2-pack, a 4-pack. You might be able to kind of maintain sort of like the silhouette of a 6-pack. But for most people, I'd say like most people, it's probably not going to be possible to look like that year round, right? Especially when you're first starting. So I'd probably just say that's probably like resetting that expectation. I think it probably it probably is encouraging, and it reassures people that, okay, when I'm doing like my first 1 to 5 years, even up to 10 years of like workout and training experience, I'm probably not gonna, if I want to look like, if I want to be at a point where maybe I could be 10% body fat year round, single digit body fat year round, then maybe years 1 through 5 or 5 through 10, like I'm gonna have to go through 4 to 6 months every year of being in a caloric surplus, eating more food than my body needs to maintain my body weight. So I'm gonna put on weight and that's probably going to escalate until you get to a certain level of muscle mass on your body, so you can look pretty lean year round. But it's not going to happen like when you first get started. Okay, so that's what I would just say to that. My what is going on, David? My last question I wanted to answer, and I'll let you guys go, is becoming the best version of ourselves. Okay, so this question is the following. So they asked, what would you say to someone who is wanting to become the best version of themselves but is struggling to start? Okay, so I would say, how do I work out? Yeah, I'm going to answer this question right now. So I would say the first thing is I would say compare yourself to who you were yesterday and not to who someone else is today at this very exact moment would be the first thing that I would say, because if comparison is literally going to keep you from starting anything, so I would just say that was a rule I read in 12 Rules for Life by Jordan Peterson. So rule 4, compare yourself to who you were yesterday, not to who someone else is today. And then the second thing is that what I did was I just started with doing physical things that I thought would translate into helping me build a better, feel better about how I looked in the mirror, feel better about my body. And then I saw how that translated into feeling how I felt my mental health was, right? And then how I felt good about my body translated into my mental health. And then I saw how that translated into my relationships with other people, the work that I did with my career, and my friendships and my family and things like that, right? And so what I personally did was I just started doing physical things that I could physically, tangibly see that changed my body to make me feel a little bit better about how my physical health was. And then how I saw that translate into how my mental health did a lot better. And then I saw how that translated into my relationships and my career and how all that just started to be a lot better and so much better. So the specific things when it came to physical things that, overall, this is what helped me just feel like I am, evolving, leveling up into the best version of myself is from certain physical things like drinking my water every day, is trying my best to hit my calories and macros every day. Def physical impacts mental tremendously, 100%. And just trying to get my workouts in, right? And I was okay, these things are in my control. I'm going to do these things so that I can physically change how my physical body feels, and then it's going to translate into mentally how I feel about overall. And then I think a key part of your overall mental health is having super good just relationships, maintaining healthy relationships over the long term, right? And doing your best to maintain those and progress those. So having that social impact or part of your mental health, I feel is a big part of staying sane as well. So yeah, that's what I would just say is I just started with doing physical things. I think some people might reverse it and be oh, I'm going to super focus on work. I'm going to super focus on, there's this light that's right here that I don't even know where to sit. But yeah, I think some people might go out the opposite 180 of it. It's okay, I'm going to go all in on my career and my work, and I'm going to make a whole lot of money, and I'm going to be super successful in my job, in my work. And once I get there, once I get to a certain level or status, like a company or my business, or if I started my own company, if I get to a certain income, revenue, profit goal per year, then I'm going to feel a certain way about myself. So my mental is going to be taken care of, and then my physical is going to be taken care of. But in my experience, that I think it's the opposite. I think that if I focus on my physical first, then my mental is going to be healed, and then my relationships and work are going to be healed if I can just figure out how to physically start to feel better, start to like what I see in the mirror, start to like myself more by just physically, doing my workouts, drinking my water, getting my macros and calories in, getting my recovery, stretching and foam rolling in. And I think that like carries over into like a lot of different parts of our lives that overall close the circle, close the loop into making us feel like we're always evolving, always leveling up, always feeling like we're being our best selves. Okay? So that's all I got. I hope you guys have a safe Friday night, safe weekend, and I'll see you guys this time next week, okay? Peace.